Welcome to the Prep Pigskin Report podcast.
Welcome to PPR podcast number 43. 43 weeks we've been together, Burt.
Wow.
Everybody knows Burt Grossman.
Do you want me to introduce our guest?
I know him pretty well too, but I'll let you do it.
I always do it. Let's keep it the same.
Okay.
Let's welcome class of 1994 one-star nose tackle Brandon Stone.
That'll do.
Brandon.
This is podcast 43.
Yes.
But we're the Darren Sproles of podcasts. Sometimes they think we're short and we can't get it done, but then we put our pads down and charge over the line.
Well, just for those who don't, first of all, let me do the PPR plug. The apparel, PrepPigskinReport.com.
Yes.
Bert's sporting the new lid. I'm sporting the new pullover. Is that from the Pro Shop or is that previous?
This is not new.
Okay.
But my new, I have a black heather gray fleece pullover coming in the mail.
Oh boy, if I get jealous, I might order one too. PrepPigskinReport.com, folks. The way it works is they build them when they get them, the invite. So sometimes it'll say it's out of that particular item, but if you just put the order in, they'll make it and you'll get it. Takes maybe a couple extra weeks.
Working on some new things too.
Yes.
Well, you remember the first year when you just give me your hand-me-downs from the previous years? I was actually going through my garage and I found one. There was a sweater vest, a PPR sweater vest you gave me.
And you know what?
I'm going to wear it this year.
Some people would be appreciative. And
I'm going to wear it.
You just look down your nose.
You got to stay with pride. See your vest. Made a real gorilla chest.
Let me just say this, that the exams are going on across the school. Kids were struggling to make our 10:15 record time. So I said, Brandon, can you help us out? And there wasn't even a hesitation. He said, so Brandon, you're a class act and we appreciate you sitting on the hot seat. Can we start with the news item? At least it was news to me because I just heard about it. Mm-hmm. Our last guest 42, Zach Marshall, who I introduced as Santa Fe Christian, is now Zach Marshall of Carlsbad High.
Yes,
we'll see. First off, you didn't ask him that question. You didn't say, "Hey, you going back to Santa Fe Christian next year or anything?"
Well,
no, we never even thought about that.
I just assumed that he was.
So would I.
So I mean, was it already known at that time?
I don't think so. But you go back and you look at the Twitter history a little bit. You notice that the last retweet after his offers is of Julian saying throwing the football, and that might have been the indicator that we should have looked for if this is what comes to pass. And if it is true, just look at what we see a lot of times with generational quarterbacks, which Julian saying is. They need people to throw the football to, and there are great wide receivers at Carlsbad. There's no doubt about that. But we've also seen a couple of them graduate, and we've also seen a team in Carlsbad that just got through going for the Open Division Championship, which was a real rough time for them. A lot of promise, but a tough time against Cathedral. And they know that they need reinforcements. And adding Zach Marshall is about as big of a reinforcement as you can get. But all I could think of when I saw that, I thought of Tyler Buckner when he was transferring to Helix, and he took his main receiver at Bishop's with him and took another wide receiver with him as well on the way there, even though they didn't play. You got to have someone that can play with you, that can catch the ball, that's of an elite status. And Zach Marshall is of an elite status. And now there's going to be no question about how that passing offense is going to work coming into the 2022 season.
Yeah, it's like Tuttle and Olave, same thing in Mission Hills. And it works out great for both of them. And we brought that up. I mean, he's such a great receiver. And nothing against Rancho Santa Fe Christian, but they run the wing T. I mean, you can only adjust your offense so much for one guy, and it kind of leaves them out a little bit.
Yeah, those two receiver routes are just a little prehistoric. Hey, all right, Brandon, let's talk about the stuff that's happened over the past week. Burt and I were sitting in basically the same configuration about 6 months ago when we had Trey Edwards live after a Mater Dei win. And we said, Trey, you're going to commit on KUSI. And sure enough, lo and behold,
man made it happen.
He honored that request with you. Talk a little bit about his decision to go to UCLA.
I thought of the two guys that went to UCLA that Trey made the most sense in this regard. You look at the sort of team that UCLA is and what they've tried to build over the years. They're going to need thicker linebackers to patrol the middle. That's exactly what you're going to get in Trey there. And I also think they're going to work on his ability to drop back in space. One of the things I think people forget about Trey Edwards is that he had 6 interceptions when he was an underclassman. and now Trey's being used in more of a different way where he's getting more time, spending more time up towards the football. But I actually think he's better than coverage than people realize that he is, and that's going to be a talent that he can use really well at UCLA, especially since so many teams in the Pac-12 are running more 4 wide receiver, 5 wide receiver sets. A guy like Trey can be valuable to you patrolling the middle. He doesn't look like Fred Warner, but he can be used like Fred Warner, and I'm really excited to see what UCLA can do with him and his unique size when he gets up there. But I wasn't surprised by that. He's an incredible talent. And he's a talent we've been talking about on this station, on this program, since he was 12 years old. I mean, Burt, you were there. You saw those East Lake Panther teams. And there's a lot of great talent that's going to be on the PPR this year and was on there last year that came from that great East Lake Panthers youth team. But the star of that team was Trey, who was great as a running back and a linebacker. So I'm not surprised by any of his success, and I'm so excited to see what he does with it this year and the upcoming years.
He's going to have to be able to turn those hips to be able to stay on the field, though, right? I mean, as far as
well, like you said, he was the best running back in youth football maybe in the country up until 12 or 13 when they changed him. They also had Major Givens. They also had Don Mankill. So I mean, this is on a youth team, just so you know. So what do you think about? I mean, we were talking about that earlier. UCLA was kind of dead in San Diego. It seems forever. I can't remember the last guy, and then all of a sudden they take the two top guys out of the class.
Receivers from town.
It looks as if they've had a real interesting time with their assistants, really recharging the way that they approach. Both of those guys talked about the assistants. They talk about Deshaun Foster, who was a great offensive player back in the day and now is an assistant coach there, talked about his influence. And so when you get the right amount of assistant coaches and the right amount of influencers, you can make a lot of change. And one of the things that I didn't talk to Trey about, and I didn't talk to Rod Robinson about either, that I really need to get into the mode of talking to them about now is we don't know what role NIL played in all of this either. Now, at the time, I don't think that venue of committing was the right time to talk about that. But during this football season, we all got to remember when we have these recruits to ask them about what the NIL world has for them, because there's a lot of opportunities there in the UCLA world too.
Could it be as simple as because we're leading into the question, is the Oregon pipeline dried up? But could it be as simple as people have figured out the weather's nicer in Los Angeles than it is in Eugene?
I came from Pitt, and I had never been to UCLA. I went a couple years ago for the Special Olympics, had their World Games there. And it was like I was on a Star Trek episode, like I was in Perfect World. I mean, it is just such a beautiful, amazing campus. I guess you get up there, and you're right. I mean, it's been so taboo. We just think of the NIL as transfers now, but we never think about the high school kids coming out.
And it's a real thing. I mean, look at the world we're living here in just San Diego alone. Mikey Williams, in a basketball perspective, has a Puma contract. And then Jada Williams on the girls' side has a contract with Spalding. We have to respect that at some point this is going to enter our football world as well, especially with kids that are getting attention across the country. This is going to be a part of something we're going to have to deal with. We can't pretend that we're hidden in an island.
But can we just go back to my question?
Yes.
Because Oregon or Eugene has the Nike connection, and you would assume that they could pay top dollar. Could it be as simple as the weather's nicer in UCLA and
It's always been nicer. It hasn't changed. I mean, but they were always getting Oregon, and the weather was still horrible up there. I don't.
But maybe the kids have finally figured it out. Hey, could it be as simple as it's easier for mom and dad to go see a game in LA than it is to go all the way up to Eugene?
I think you hit on it, though. I think you connect with who's recruiting you. And if it's a younger coach and you connect with them personality-wise, and you know they're going to be there as a mentor or something else, and you might go to a different program that's been great, but the coach you might not shuffle with. He might be in his 60s, and this guy's in his 30s, and he played recently. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, but yeah, I don't know.
Can we also give some credit too, though? And this is just one that I've been thinking about, some credit to San Diego State in this regard. They've played well against UCLA. They played well in the Rose Bowl. They're getting more attention, and they're getting more recruits that could potentially been UCLA, USC players now, or at least getting that attention, especially in the transfer market. I mean, this is a team that brought in Tyrell Shavers out of Mississippi State, who went to Alabama at one point. And because of that ray of attention, they say, what's going on in San Diego? And now we're getting more of that rollover attention on the prep side because of what we've seen on the college side and the players that have been able to succeed. Now we're getting a little bit more attention. I think that could also be a part of it.
But if it's just NIL, then the Aztecs will have a more difficult time of competing. We don't have the pockets, the resources that some of these other schools have on the West Coast.
Maybe it's time for us to get some NIL athletes. I wonder how much that would cost us.
PPR NIL?
I said give them like a gold hat.
Sweater vest?
Boom. Yeah, Maybe better than the one from the garage.
Will you knock it off with the sweater? That was a real nice garment.
was charcoal
and if you
and a
don't like
sweater
it,
vest.
there's about
I remember the
200
vest.
people
It's a
watching
great
this right now
vest.
that would love to have it.
I'm wearing it next week. Don't worry. Wait, Auburn AL. So we always skirt around this. We're only about 2 months away. Well, who would be your top 6 going? And I know everything changes because last year we would have said it and it would have been totally somebody new. Who would be your top 6 on the podium right now that you think are favorites?
Oh my! Oh, see, I thought you were talking about top 6, like teams in the open division. I was
I'm
getting
gonna ask you that later.
Getting all excited, and
I'm gonna ask you that next.
And now you're squaring on me about
Well, because here becomes
about
the problem.
podium.
Here becomes the problem. It's always you can't have 2 guys from the same school.
Uh-huh.
So we have these super teams now that have 7 D1 guys, and if you can only pick one, it's almost like, do you have to change it now, or what do you do?
Well, let me get controversial right from the top. I have no interest in changing that, lack of a better term, rule. I have no interest in changing that at all. If you make the decision to be on a super team, you've made that decision. One of the biggest things, though, about the Silver Pigskin and what it exemplifies from our show is it gives everybody from a walk of life the chance to be a part of something large. And to me, you get one player on if you're a team for sure, and you got to earn that second player through. Now, has that hurt us in the past?
Absolutely.
With certain people, it certainly has, but it doesn't make me change the way that I feel about it. And I also wouldn't want to disrespect any player from any other team that doesn't get the chance to get on because somebody decided to have 3 or 4 players join the same team. Every player has to make their individual decisions for themselves.
So we're going to throw some
we
names?
have to make our team decisions.
We throwing names
You
out?
going to throw out some names?
Because again, if we did this last year, nobody would have said Jalen Davis, nobody would have said Savion Yokley, because they weren't really on the radar.
They weren't
but
there
they were
yet.
there.
I would say 3 are are hard to ignore, pending injury. Sayin, Robinson, and Edwards are 3 pretty.
See, in minor, I think Dom Nankill, again. I like Sam Cooper and Jax Leatherwood. I mean, I'm not saying those 3, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
I mean, you could say those 6, and then you take somebody, if you take Dom or if you take Trey Edwards, you can't take the other one. And that's not counting Snyder
but they go
yeah.
into the fan vote, though.
Well, I was going to say, just for modern day alone, you mentioned a great offensive player, you mentioned a great defensive player, but they still have folks like Jerry McClure and folks like Shiraz Bunkum. We're going to make a lot of noise this year and could change the way that we see things.
Yeah.
Also, Nico Mosley, too. Those are great players.
Snyder.
Can I just tell you
And
right
then
now, brace for the fact that there's, how there's always that one school that hates us every year? Just Coach Joyner, I'm prepared for it. I understand it. Coach V, I get it. You're not going to like us, and you can say we have rhinoceros skin. We were used to getting yelled at.
The rule's great, though.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's
literally.
tough.
All right, you could put Dom, Edwards, McClure, Snyder, all on from the same
Mosley.
team. And then what fun
McMillan.
is it? So 60 people show up at the gala.
Exactly.
And so we're not. This is a San Diego deal. It's a San Diego award, and you're the best player on that team. And I'll tell you what, just for those, the coaching staffs there are going to have a big input into who because they see the kids on a day-to-day basis. And we had a tough decision last year. We went to that coaching staff, and they advised us.
They didn't choose who it was.
But they advised us.
We took their advice. We take advice from a lot of coaches. We take a lot of advice from a lot of influencers. We take advice from players themselves. One of the best questions that you guys have been asking
When
this
does
year.
all this happen? Because I never get invited to any of these meetings.
Because like you were going to show up and sit here and be here at 2 in the morning.
I'm just washing my hands up next year.
You
So when
have
this comes
such a-
down, I have nothing to do with any of this. Just so you know.
All right, well, neither here nor there. Can we talk about one person just because we were talking about the Aztecs ever so briefly?
Yeah.
The mention of Keenan and Kristen, former Silver Pigskin Finals, a great athlete who did not win the award, who in a different year might have. The fact that he might be returning to the Mesa, you say?
I say thumbs up, and I also say it's going to be a pretty packed San Diego State running back room with Lucky there. There's 2 Luckies. There's Sutton, then there's Avenger. So be coming into a senior year. You've got another Bell still there. There's a lot of great running backs in that room. And I'm still not sure if we're done seeing talent be put in that running back room. I'm not sure, so stay tuned because there could be more news on the
So
way.
obviously he knows something that,
Yeah, apparently. He was going to tell us.
but you don't want to talk about it out loud.
Not yet.
I want to skip over something. So we haven't done our schedule yet, but I mean, everybody's saying it's going to be modern day Cathedral. 2 state champs.
Yeah.
I love modern day, but I don't think you knock off the champ till you knock off the champ. I mean, who would you pick in that game right now? I mean, thinking about it.
Who's going to be the quarterback for Cathedral?
We're still going to have to wait and see, I think.
Yeah, they don't know.
I think I know, but
That's a
we have
tough
to wait
one.
and
Yeah.
see. One thing that Cathedral will have going for them is, even though they lost a lot of senior power, one place they did not lose senior power is in their backfield, their defensive backfield. Madden Faramo will still be good. Victory Johnson will still be good. Marcus Ratcliffe will still be good back there. And they're going to need that to neutralize a really good modern-day attack. I'm interested to see how that then plays on the other side, where Cathedral always has a dominant offensive line, no matter what the age is, no matter what the times. They're always have thickness up front. And I want to see what the front seven, sans Trey, has to say on modern day side too. So that can make it pretty close. Cathedral has more positions to replace. I think modern day brings back 19, maybe even 20 of its starters from last year. And by the way, it's not just bringing back juniors that become seniors. We just mentioned all these great players, and I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks that Anthony McMillan and Isaiah Buxton are just as good as all the seniors that we just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
more so
there's a lot
than
out there.
any year. They reload, they don't really rebuild, but still, they have a lot of shells to fill. Just quickly for housekeeping purposes, you mentioned Marcus Ratcliffe. Marcus was going to be our guest this week, but because of a final exam conflict, so Marcus, rest assured, you have not lost your spot in line. We will get you worked in quickly in the next couple weeks. So you're still going to be on our podcast.
Still loved and respected, as you say.
Hey, Brandon, can we just talk a little bit about you, because you're unique. When did you start working on the show?
When do you think I started working on the show?
2005-ish, 6-ish?
No.
What do you think, Burt?
2007-ish.
What do you think, Burt?
I say 2009.
2008.
Well, he's been with me forever.
Not bad.
For
Not
those
bad,
who don't
guys.
know, Brandon holds the title of co-producer of the show now, and has worked his way up through the ranks and is now the leading sportscaster in San Diego. I don't even think that's debatable. But Brandon,
Well, thank you for the high praise.
well, certainly in my eyes, it's not debatable. But Brandon, you have a unique, because for those who don't know, Brandon, God forbid we used to butt heads over this line. He likes professional wrestling is fake. And how much do you spend a year going to wrestling matches?
Well, first off,
Now, hold on, Tyler.
yes.
Do you collect action figures?
No.
Okay,
I have a few, but I wouldn't call myself a
Collection?
collector by any
Okay.
means. The race cars are a much bigger issue when it comes to the collecting at this
right.
point than the wrestling figures. All I'll say first off is that people are fake and wrestling is choreographed. That's the first issue. Haven't spent a lot of money in a while, but I will say next year's WrestleMania is at SoFi Stadium, and it's now a 2-day event, so I might be dropping a pretty penny or two. Plus, they are coming back on July 4th, and so I would like to see that show. I'd like to get a guest, too, make sure we have one here, so working on that right now as well. I'll tell you this much. First off, thank you for the praise, Paul. It's been a heck of a journey getting to this point, and I've really enjoyed every step along the way. And the best thing about this job is being able to give back and impact the lives of children. That's the best thing that we can do. And Burt does that in his way, too, with the organizations that he's with. And, Paul, you've done it that way, too, and it's incredible. One thing I will say about wrestling, though, is I wouldn't be here sitting in this chair without it, because the way that wrestlers emote, the way that they can show when they do a promo, and they can show all the different emotions and feelings that they have and portray that into a system. I wouldn't be able to do this job without learning from their steps. And also, the best editing work in all of entertainment comes from wrestling. And that editing work and those packages, I relay that into every package that we do for this show. So wrestling has had a huge influence on how the show was born the last decade.
Well, when a punch misses by 6 feet, you have to be a clever editor.
You kept talking. I kept thinking it was
I
Coco
will say
Beware.
this, though. You must, good job on the Coco Beware. But do not forget that right now we do have a bit of PPR history in WWE at this moment. Dominic Mysterio, son of Rey Mysterio, is currently the only person who has ever been on the Prep Pigskin Report that has then gone on to hold a wrestling title, where he was tag team champions with his dad. So it'd be interesting to have him here one day. I would very much hope to have him here one day to talk about his time. He played for Horizon, by the way.
And just
Horizon.
quickly, Brandon, just quickly more about you, because the wrestling thing is the one that what other people don't know is you are an absolute gearhead.
Yes.
I bet you were the only. I bet you were the only two sportscasters, current or former and current, that have ever been to Verona
Yes.
I guarantee you none of the other gang have
Wait, the
they
gambler?
couldn't even
I've been
find
there.
the Speedway.
Oh, the Speedway. I thought you meant
The Speedway,
casino.
my brother.
I've been
The
there. What are you talking
Speedway.
about?
I would just go there for the buffet anyway if it was the casino. No, I absolutely love racing. I don't know how it happened. I just turned on the 2005 Daytona 500 one day and watched Jeff Gordon win, and I was hooked from there. And racing is my other passion. We just got back from Las Vegas. People said, "Oh, you went to Vegas? Oh, are you just hitting the casinos?" And I said, "No, I was at the Motor Speedway, enjoying my time." I absolutely do love the racing, that's one way that Paul and I really got connected.
That's how you and I became friends, basically.
Because he loved Dale and Dale Jr. and
You
Dale
drive a
Jr. was a part
hybrid
of.
minivan. I've seen it out in the parking lot. There's no NASCAR race fan that drives a hybrid minivan.
But nobody knows more about like the setup of. I mean, like I like the sport, or I did until
You drive a 1978 Mercedes diesel.
Time
What
out.
is wrong with you two?
He knows like track bar adjustments and all this stuff. He's into the technology of it, whereas I kind of gloss over. And now ever since they've modified the rules and you get a prize for leading at the 17th lap.
The stages don't work for you.
Once they started messing with the rule book, I said, I'm out. But
You would like the next gen car though. You would really.
well,
enjoy
it's made it better.
It's made the intermediate tracks better. The
yeah.
mile and a half to become a lot more efficient.
All right, can we get? Let's get back to just some topics at hand. Is there any other question you want?
I do. So we had a little
we got about a
surprise.
couple minutes left.
We had 3 state champs last year.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would have, maybe Cathedral you would have predicted, but who do you see this year being a state champ? I mean, Modern Day moved up to 1, so that's going to be hard. Cathedral's lost a lot of people. Scripps moved up 1 or 2. Jackson's still back. You see anybody other than that, or those guys repeating again?
Why can't Modern Day win Division One?
I'm just saying, I can say they can. It's a little harder than winning Division 3, though.
Yeah, but
The
they're
state.
loaded. They have an open division roster.
True, and they did beat Helix, which was Division 1 at the
Yeah.
time. And the state's a little different, but who do you see?
I think that you should probably keep your eyes on. You look at a team like Patrick Henry last year, where they're going to end up coming in at a lower rate, and then they can sort of get that advantage, even though they didn't win a state championship. That means you can look at a team like a Poway, for example, a UC, where guys are not going to be as high of a division, so that means they're going to put a little lower and be playing against teams that have less school size. The biggest issue when you get to those bowl games, low Division III, is you're going to get teams that have school sizes of 2,500 kids, 3,000 kids, going up against schools that are size of 600. So that'll be a big difference. So look at teams like that in the lower end.
And what do you think about, Lincoln? I looked at Lincoln's schedule, and it's just, that's a brutal schedule.
It's a loaded schedule.
Yeah,
The number one thing that I'm seeing out of Lincoln right now, I went to the San Diego State spring game, and I looked and I saw these 6, 7, 8 gigantic men, and I said, who are they? And one coach came up to me and said, that's Lincoln's offensive line. Mm-hmm. And that's something different. We've watched the evolution of Lincoln's skill players, but slowly but surely they've been coming along with that line, and that's a big deal. And the fact that they've finally been able to get a lot of larger linemen in there, they're going to be able to block for Roddy. It's the same idea as what we were talking about with Julian, with Zach Marshall. When you have a player that's dynamic at a position, other players that support that position want to be a part of that, and I think we're going to see that out of Lincoln. It's going to be a big deal. They've also got a new linebacker out there, Michael Valenzuela, who I think you should definitely keep your eyes on too. Be a lot of talent.
And a new quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot.
Johnny
They got a
Lamone.
lot of new. Mr. Lamone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great talent out there. Josiah Cox, great talent. A lot of David Peavy, who's really talented. They got a lot of great defensive players, a lot of great linebackers on that team. So it'll be fun to watch them too. But we need to give respect to that line. Not a lot of people, offense and defense-wise, have been able to put guys in D1 schools, and they did that last year with Kendall Williams. They didn't get enough attention or respect for it. And they got a couple other guys coming up the pipe too. They're going to be talented in that way as well.
Can I ask the last question?
You sure can.
You mind?
No, go ahead.
Do you have anything you want to ask before?
No, go ahead.
All right, so the last question, Brandon. We've kept you longer than we ever intended.
We could keep doing this forever.
No, I know. I love listening to you wax poetic. Brandon, and it's now 2022. Has the PPR lost significance here in San Diego, and it's now going into what is it our 23rd year or our 23rd year?
It's 24, might be 24.
I have absolutely.
It's okay.
Whatever it is, 23 or 24. Has the show? Have we become blasé or what's the word?
Passe?
Passe. Have we become passe? Are we
think
the
that
old?
word's passe.
Are we the old guard now? And there's so many new and exciting ways to take in data. And
Let me put it this way. Nobody ever gives the Associated Press any love or affection for doing what they do, which is keep the historical record of mankind through journalism. And in many ways, we're the AP of prep sports. We're just keeping the tabs. Our job is to say this team won, this team lost, these players were good, these players were greater than good, and these players were the 5 or 6 or 7 best of the year. And nobody wants to give extra attention to that. One of the toughest things that we have to deal with in a social media age is people saying, well, why can't you be more like Barstool? They're fun, they're engaging, why can't you give us that? Well, yes, but our job is to serve children. And at the end of the day, no matter how advanced it may seem with children, and no matter how a parent may act, we have to carry ourselves with a different piece of class. We can't go out there and talk slanderous. We can't go out there and say, which player's a bum? Who's a bum out there? Who don't you like? Whose girlfriend made you mad the other day? Who's cute? Who's ugly? We can't do that here. And frankly, I'm happy we haven't sunk to that level yet.
Never will,
because we don't have that. You talked before about you wanting this to be like Mayberry. And it is true that this should be Mayberry RFD. This should be a place where everybody can sit at the table. This is a show that grandmothers and grandfathers can watch. This is a show where work friends can watch. But the key that we have to keep is there are many ways that people watch this show, listen to this show, and we have to keep up with those times. And that's the toughest thing that we work on, something that we're continuing to try to expand. But I don't want to change that core of our show, being a place where everybody sits down, the Thanksgiving table of shows. That will never change as long as you and I and Burt and so many others are here.
Burt, would you like to add to that?
So, well, I don't.
No, what's Burt say?
I don't say that. All right.
Yeah, it's
Say it.
changed.
You ready? Who are your top 5 wrestlers ever?
My personal favorites?
Wait, starting with micability, marketability, and then wrestling.
Of all time.
Wrestling ability, of all time.
Of all time? Okay, that's a pretty good one. We start with The Rock. His marketability is beyond concern. Stone Cold set the record in the 90s for the idea of don't you just want to tell off your boss. The best wide receivers. The best. See, I'm still thinking about football. The best wrestlers out there are the ones who keep their personality but just turn it up to 11 and appeal to the base thoughts and human nature within us. So that's Rock, that's Stone Cold. Hulk Hogan has the idea of what would it be like if I was larger than life. So he goes up there as a person worth mentioning. I think Roman Reigns has finally earned his position in the last work he's done in the last couple of years to earn his spot, the tribal chief at the head of the table, to sit there. And then we can also go back in time for that 5th one. You can go all the way back. Do you want to go back Bob Backlund if you want to?
Oh my God, will you stop?
You
You
can
put
take that if
Roman
you wish.
Reigns and Bob Backlund, and you didn't mention Ric Flair, Macho Man.
I was getting there.
No,
Ric Flair
no.
has a place at the table.
I quit.
Macho Man does not.
Bob Backlund.
All right,
Worst
guys,
mic skills ever.
I'm about to get sick, okay? This was, I should have
You
ended
didn't want to say
on-
Steve McMichael?
We should have ended,
Didn't you
ended on the
day?
PPR question. My regrets. I tried to get you.
Bob Backlund.
I thought, Brandon, again, you're a class act for coming in so early to do this. It is greatly appreciated.